Hey yo, Mark here for Mark's Max Muscle. And today we're going to be taking a look at a bodybuilder by the name of Bill Grant. Grant is definitely a forgotten legend in the sport of bodybuilding. So without further ado, let's take a look at Bill Grant. Born in 1946, Bill Grant was an American bodybuilder. He stood 5 feet 9 inches and weighed 195 pounds in his prime. Aside from perhaps an undersized set of calves, Grant had no real weaknesses. In fact, he had quite a few exceptional body parts, namely a set of guns. His biceps were so full and so huge, I really have no idea how I overlooked him in my best biceps in bodybuilding history video. Aside from that, he had an extremely chiseled waist with a very well-conditioned set of abs. And speaking of conditioning, for his time, Bill Grant's was some of the very best. When he turned around, Grant displayed a very impressive back development, with biceps in full view, and I mean full. He actually credited his genetics to those huge guns. He claimed his father always had big arms and really tiny calves. Grant began to compete in bodybuilding at a very young age. By 1967, he had placed 10th at the AAU Mr. USA contest. He competed exclusively as an AAU competitor until jumping ship to the WBBG in 1971. He would place second at that year's Pro Mr. America contest. In 72, Grant would vie for the WBBG Pro America title once again. With a disappointing second-place finish 1 year before, this time Bill was determined not to let this title slip through his fingers once again. He would place first over Lou Ferrigno to take the title of Mr. America. Bill would once again switch federations, this time ending up in the IFBB. He would get a huge win, taking the 1974 Mr. World title. This was a gigantic title for Grant. It placed him in some very good company with some previous winners like Sergio Oliva, Frank Zane, Dave Draper, Franco Colombo, Mike Katz, Ken Waller, and the greatest bodybuilder of all time, Robbie Robinson. Now, there's a who's who of bodybuilding, to say the very least. In 1976, Grant would make his Mr. Olympia debut. He would place second to last. The 77 Olympia would be no better, as he placed dead last. Grant would place 7th at the 78 Olympia, and would not re-enter this event until 1984, where he plummeted down to 15th place. Grant continued to compete until 1988, when he finally called it quits after a 13th place finish at that year's Night of Champions. Grant would make a return to the bodybuilding stage in 1994, after Joe Weider introduced the Mr. Olympia Masters competition. This was for competitors over the age of 40. Bill, now in his late 40s, more than qualified. I was quite impressed with Bill's physique here, considering he hadn't competed in 6 years, not to mention that he was almost 50 years old. He placed a respectable 8th place. Bill, now in his 70s, is still in great shape. One thing I always noticed about Grant is that he usually always was wearing his trademark smile. I guess that's the secret to a long and happy life. He is Bill Grant, a bodybuilding legend. Well, that about does it for that one. As always, let me know in the comment section below if there's any other forgotten legends like Bill Grant that you want to see a profile done on. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hit like and subscribe if you did. And that's it for now. This is Mark for Mark's Max Muscle.